Hello and welcome back to Gooner Gathering. My name is Posh Bertie, the poshest man in all of sports entertainment, and joining me are two lovely people. First up, over here is Mr. Sam Wilson with his Arsenal gear on. How are you, sir?
Oh, all good, thank you. How are you?
I am doing excellent because we are doing a brilliant stream on Gooner Gathering. And down here is a man who has recently set up a channel of his own. Please give him a subscribe. It's Dom Palmer, aka Arsenal Domination. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, and apologise to everyone. It was me that caused the stream to be late by missing the link and being late. So apologies all. But other than that, I'm very well. And I hope you two are as well. Sam coming with the gear, me just, in my usual bum clothes. But, at least Sam's made the effort for the both of us.
Well, I would say all the gear and no idea, but that would be very harsh on you, Dom, as you are a very intelligent individual. Let's see. We've got a few. Actually, I will say, I unintentionally made us go live at the same time as the FA Cup third round draw. So we will probably find out who Arsenal's opponents are in the FA Cup midstream. So, yeah,
well,
that's going to be.
I think that's ambitious, isn't it? I mean, by the time they've, messed around, it'll be 11 o'clock before they draw.
Yeah, I was saying this to Sam off air. They have a little chat with each other, and then it takes about 3 hours, and there we are.
There is also 64 teams to draw, so we could be still here at the end of the stream, not knowing who we're playing. So,
yeah, if we'll just wait to see Arsenal and Tottenham as the last two teams to be drawn, probably. Let's have a look at who's in the chat. My favourite cobbler and yours, Luke Chapman, is here talking about Northampton Town as he always does. Sam Hoskins, first Northampton player to score 20 or more goals in back-to-back seasons, I think that is. He sounds like a good striker. He's better than Jesus. We'll sign him up in January. Gooner Gathering says, hi all, I'm still out of action with a lack of voice. Not ideal for a podcast, but please support us by smashing the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you very much, Mr. Meadows, and I hope that you had a very good birthday yesterday. It is, of course, his 25th birthday. I've heard from reliable sources that is his age, and I hope he had a very good birthday, sir.
How many years running, Lee?
So that's probably why he's not available. He had he was celebrating a little too much on for his birthday. And he's put the link to your channel, Dom, which is very nice of him. And he's put the link out to Wrestle Dogs as well. So, absolutely. Believe it or not, we're not here to have a little natter about various things. We're here to have a chat about Arsenal's 5-2 victory against West Ham United at the London Stadium. We like scoring a lot of goals in that stadium the past two games there. But I'll start with you, Sam. Based on how, because I had a chat on the preview show with Tony, Early Doors Football, very good man. I, believe it or not, did not expect a thrashing like that again before the game. What did you think? I know West Ham have not been the best this season, but what were your thoughts going into the game? Were you expecting a convincing win, or do you think it was going to be a lot tougher than some people may think?
No, I originally said to some of my friends, one unfortunately being a Man City fan, that it would be a really tough game, and that I don't think we'd win it by many. And his response was, "No, you'll win 3 or 4-0." So he was the one that was right, and I was the one that was wrong.
Well, he got the first 40 minutes right.
Yeah, as they kept going in, it's weird, isn't it? It's like over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we're seeing a completely different team. It's like somebody's flicked the switch on, and we've suddenly started to play football again. It's so bizarre how much 2 weeks can make that difference.
Do you think that could be down to the fact that Odegaard is back? And is he that much of a difference maker?
I think that's a part of it. I think we're also starting to see other players coming back at the right time as well. But then at the same time, we're also getting players getting injured. So it's a bizarre one, isn't it? You just think that things are starting to get better with injuries, and then Calafiori goes off, and you just think to yourself, again, I knowing that we've won, I hate to sound really negative again, but we are now telling that we should have made. Again, I hate to keep harping on about it, but we should have made some more signings, to be fair, because we're coming under pressure every time one or two players get injured. That's going to happen. So we need to be ready for that. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things. We've still got a massive mountain to climb, but hopefully we can start clawing back the points.
Dom, what were your thoughts going into the game? Did you have the same feeling as Sam, or were you more optimistic?
I think I predicted 5-2 at half time. With that the final score? No, of course not.
I thought so. Stradamus over here.
Yeah. Used my time machine and went back in time to correct. No, I was very similar to Sam. It's really hard to predict what you're going to do against West Ham because they've been so mixed this season. They go and get a result at Newcastle, but equally they've been fairly dire in many other games, right? And if I'm honest, even though it's under a different manager, I feared that there might be a reaction from last year. As it turned out, the reaction was, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" Which was, good news for us. We've now scored more goals in our last two visits to the London Stadium than
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Dom, but Sam has just got a look of shock on his face. What has happened? Who have we drawn?
We've been drawn first, and we've been drawn against Man United.
Of course we have. Of course we have. Yeah, I'm not going to go.
No, you're fine.
That's literally, we've been drawn first, and we've drawn against Man United.
Jeez.
Look, I'm not going to go into full tinfoil hat mode, but didn't you say they had 2 ex-Man United players on there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to say that that's another cup competition thrown in the bin, but it all depends heavily on how we do against Man United on Wednesday. And we've got to take this FA Cup seriously. We've got to take all the cup competitions seriously. So I expect us to put in a top performance against them, whether it's in the league or in the FA Cup. Both times we've got to try and win it, because the domestic cups, in my opinion, are the most realistic chance for us to win silverware.
It's just frustrating, isn't it? Because in the third round of the cup, you want to be using some of your players that aren't getting minutes in the Premier League. You want to be using your Nwaris in those games to rest the other players. But now we haven't got that. We've got, if we change this team at all, chances are Man United are going to beat us.
Which he will. He will. I know he will. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those games where you could probably make 2 or 3 if we're home. Did we get drawn home, Sam, or were we away?
Home. Man City have got Salford. Of course they have. They've got an easy draw again. Of course they have.
Right. Well, I can't wait to see Liverpool versus Tamworth as well. That will be drawn out.
Arsenal United will be the biggest draw of the ground, no question.
We spoke of him early on in this video. Early Doors Football says, Posh Bertie in the panel, well done on the result. He's still in charge, unfortunately. Who? Arteta or Lopetegui, who is unfortunately in charge. If you're talking about Lopetegui, I will say, Early Doors, that Leicester game tomorrow is make or break for him. Absolutely.
At the time, I also think you've kind of got to... I know things aren't going great, but I also think you have to give managers a bit of a chance. So, yeah, I know it's frustrating. They've got a team that should be doing much better than they are. But, yeah, you've got to give them a little bit of a chance. So it's maybe, again, a case of what I've said about Man United, write this season off and then see where you're at then.
I agree. I mean, West Ham aren't going down, right? So see where you are in the new year. You're not going to lose anything or gain anything. And sometimes managers take a little bit more time to get things settled. I mean, I don't think he's doing great. I was a little bit surprised by the appointment in the first place, but they're not going down, so I wouldn't pull the trigger right now.
Well, I remember when we did you were part of this video as well, Dom, when we did the preview for the first game of the season against Wolves. We talked about who the biggest over and underachievers were. I think the biggest overachievers, I went for West Ham, so I think it's my fault actually. I think I've cursed the Hammers.
So I said if Leicester got a points deduction, Southampton would be the one that survived. So you know.
Early Doors says, unfortunately, Sam, you can give someone a chance if you see some development. We're just seeing inconsistency. We talked. I mean, me and Early Doors kind of talked about this in the preview show. I know this sounds a bit hypocritical coming from me with my views on Arteta, but I do find it odd how West Ham got rid of David Moyes after only recently just winning them their first European trophy and consistent top half finishes for them. I just don't get it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Early Doors is the one watching it week in, week out. There, we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy for us just to update you. Liverpool have got Accrington, which is obvious that was going to happen.
Who are they?
Exactly. Oh, you beat me to it.
Tottenham have got Tamworth away, and then Chelsea have got Morecambe. So
who hasn't been? So all the big six teams have been drawn. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Spurs.
Oh, the big five. Sorry. But yeah. Yeah. The everything's against us side of the Arsenal fan base will be having a field day tonight. But yeah. Well,
I mean,
okay.
Sam's right, by the way. Forget whether it's a conspiracy theory or not. I mean, personally, it's not my bag. It's just not the cup draw you want, is it? Because as Sam said, you want Jesus playing. You want, Zinchenko getting minutes, Miles Lewis-Skelly.
You want Jesus playing?
You know what? You want players because at some point they're going to be needed during the season. So you want them for minutes in games that you're going to win. You can put Lewis-Skelly, Wanyeri, Jorginho, Nichols at right back, that sort of side out, Kivior at centre back, and you can win that game. That's the type of game you want in the third round. You want, Tamworth at home.
It'll be one of those games where you can make the odd rotation here and there, which I expect Man United will probably do that as well.
Yeah, you could bring Jorginho into midfield, for instance.
Don't make 11 changes for this game because these domestic cups we have to take seriously, and we've got to go out there and win against United at the Emirates, which we've done many times before, and hopefully
starting on Wednesday.
I know we're gonna have to win both times against United. That's what we got to do, I'm afraid. Guna Gathering says Lewis-Skelly got injured on Friday. We're back to injury. We're back to injury gate again because Lewis-Skelly wasn't the only player that was not featured in the squad against West Ham. It was I didn't see Partey or Marino on the bench. I don't know what their status is against Man United on Wednesday.
I can give you a little bit of an update. Now, obviously, Arsenal are obviously very coy about these things. There's been no update on Moreno, who apparently has a small knee injury. Partey was seen at West Ham and apparently was a very late decision for him not to be included. He's expected to be training later in the week, which suggests he's out of the United game, but possibly in contention for the weekend. But how true that is, it's coming from relatively reliable Arsenal supporters. But, you never know with A, injuries, B, Arsenal putting information out there. So we'll see. But it sounds like Partey won't be available on Wednesday or Moreno.
Excellent. The moment we actually need them, and they're not there. So this is why I wouldn't get too excited about how we're back and all of that nonsense. But look,
I disagree. I think I've said it was quite consistent during the poor run that poor runs are going to happen. I felt that things could have changed. I thought you could give Wanyeri a try. I thought we could release the handbrake a little bit more. You could stop the Havertz Trossard I really don't understand what they were doing, whether they were 10s or 9s. I didn't understand which one was which, and I don't think they did either. Right, and that could have
Arteta
improved
was
things.
too scared to play Wanyeri against Premier League.
I think I would have played him more, definitely. But I always felt that a blip is going to happen to almost every side. In fact, every side this season. It's how many you give and how many points you drop. That's going to be Liverpool at some point will have it, right? But I always felt that. I mean, Odegaard coming back makes a significant difference, right? He really does. But it's actually also the fact that Trossard has returned to form slightly. Declan Rice is starting to get back a little bit better, etc., etc. So these things are starting to help. So I do think that we can beat Manchester United on Wednesday, even with the injuries. I thought Jorginho looked really good, for instance, on Saturday against West Ham. I mean, I think I could have probably looked good, admittedly, because West Ham were that poor. Apologies, early doors, but but Jorginho is still a decent player. So, from my point of view, I think I'm not that worried about Manchester United. I think what worries me more is that they've got Ruben Amorim, they've still got the bounce. Are they in the bounce from that more than Manchester United themselves? But let's be honest, they drew at Ipswich and they flattered to deceive against Everton. Everton are not a good side at all. With a porous defence. Yes, well done United. They knocked 4 past them. But there's a difference between the Everton defence right now and the Arsenal defence right now.
Yeah, that's understandable. But look, we'll get back to talking about what happened in the game. I will say though, with Jorginho, he was good in this game, but you can't have him play game in, game out with these injuries. That's the problem we have. It's almost as if we should have actually had a better transfer window or something. But yeah, anyway.
Well, how many players do you want in the squad, though? I think that's the other thing, right? So the squad.
I do see your point, but we've had a squad depth problem for years now.
See, I'm not convinced we have got too much one. Look, the summer window was. I get the argument around it being disappointing, right? It wasn't the window we wanted. We wanted to see in, people want to see in Nico Williams, Frankie De Jong, etc., etc. Obviously, Zubimendi is a better example than Frankie De Jong, right? That's definitely what we wanted to see. I think sometimes the window doesn't go as you want, and this summer was undoubtedly that, right? But I don't think the squad lacks depth. And I don't think you want too big a squad because I think that can cause you issues the other way where actually you haven't got players playing. I think what has been frustrating this season, and I'm sure it'll be frustrating for Mikel Arteta, is the fact you've had 6, 7, 8 guys injured at once. Right now, we are light in central midfield because we've got Miles Lewis-Skelly injured, we've got Partey injured, and we've got Moreno injured, and suddenly you're down to Rice and Jorginho, which is not where you want to be. But at the same time, I don't think you can assume you're going to have 7, 8 injuries constantly because that's not necessarily normal. So I think that kind of is what it is. But, you are right. Jorginho is your 4th choice central midfielder for a reason. And he can't play game in, game out.
Well, yes. I'm just concerned about how much depth we have going into the busy fixtures in December, but that's just me. Look, let's get into the goal, shall we? And good to see AFC always as well in the chat as well. The problem with our squad depth is that it's not very good in certain players. I do get what you mean there. I think defense is probably our best weapon that we have, I guess. Let's talk about the first goal, shall we? It was the standard Arsenal stuff. A corner, set piece, you know the drill. Normal service resumes. Gabriel, lovely header, made a lovely run across the box. And 1-0. Sam, standard stuff, right?
Yeah, I think that's that's probably the best thing that's come this season is getting that set piece coaching because he's only been here for this season, right? Am I thinking that?
The set piece coach was there last season.
He's been there for a little while, actually. I think this might be his 3rd full season.
Okay.
He's been here a while, certainly.
Ignore what I said then. It's what it is now. I think we have gained that reputation that people don't want to concede corners to us, which is good. I don't think that's ever been the case before the last couple of seasons. I don't think we've ever been really great from corners, so that's a good thing to have. I think teams kind of fear it when we do get a corner now, which is a great thing because they all panic and it allows us to nip in and score most times. So, and I think it certainly helps having Declan Rice on one side and then Saka on the other to take the corners in the first place. So, yeah, it's kind of normal service resumes when we score a corner.
And
hey, look at that! It is his third season. I just looked it up. It was a rough guess on my part, but I was right. Who knew?
First, you go with 5-2 at half time, and now you've. Oh my word!
One of them was accurate. The other one was maybe a lie that I did.
I'm trying to pick you up. AFC always says Gabriel is a beast. He absolutely is. Absolutely. The second goal was very good. Odegaard, as we've been saying, we've missed him in the team. He's back now, and it was a lovely little dink over the top. Finds Bukayo Saka, squares it to Trossard. I know it was an easy goal to score, but Sam, isn't it great to see my boy Trossard on the score sheet again? He's slowly getting back in my good books now.
Yeah, it was the most unselfish play from Saka, though, wasn't it? He could have easily taken the shot, but I think that shows how much of a.
If it was Sterling, he'd have taken a shot and it would have hit the side netting.
Yeah.
Carry on.
It shows what a player he is that he passed that across, because most people would have taken that on and had a shot. So that's what I was most pleased about, to see that actually, do you know what? He would rather the team score than him have a shot and score. So yeah, it was really good.
He wants that assist record, Sam. That's what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just
that he gets it.
Yeah, it's just the thing, isn't it? Like, that's the first thing I said. Yes, we've scored, but I thought, do you know what? That was so unselfish. So that's what I was most pleased about.
Yeah, Dom, as I mentioned, Trossard, I think majority of this season I've been... usually I was a big fan of him, but earlier on this season I was very frustrated with him for numerous reasons. He scored 2 in 2. Do you think now his confidence is back up and he'll start to be the, here we go, I'm going to say it, the big game player that we know he can be, don't you think, Dom?
Yeah, I think so. I was never worried about Trossard's form. Obviously, at the time, you don't want to see the poor form, but
he was playing in the 10. I think that's what kind of affected him. That's what I think. But
yeah, I think. I don't think if he knew he was playing 9 or 10, I think that was the issue, and I don't think Havertz did either. And it was no coincidence to me that both dropped off at the same time. But we know Trossard is a good player, right? And it's the old cliche of form is temporary, class is permanent, right? So that's why I was never concerned about him. His stats for Arsenal are phenomenal, and his sort of role in the team is really, really strong and clear to me. So he never concerned me. I think that goal, though, was a real team goal, a real touch of quality. I mentioned it earlier that actually it was sort of reminiscent of the old Arsene Wenger sort of goal, where we sort of worked that ball with real craft. And, to Sam's point, Saka is there and he spots Trossard. And I think Havertz was also coming on it as well, and he spots that both of them are better placed, and he plays that ball. And it was, like I say, it was can we walk the ball into the net, Arsene Wenger style, but actually for a reason this time, as opposed to, oh look, there's 5 players between me and the player I want to pass to, and still attempting it. This was one where we worked the opportunity really, really nicely. And it was my favourite goal of the night in many ways.
Yeah, someone actually said, I can't remember who it was, but someone said that was a very Wenger Ball-esque esque goal. And we were, as the hip Gen Zers like me would say, we were cooking. And it was 2-0, and we weren't done there. We got a penalty. It was a clear penalty, in my opinion. I can't believe you're going to hear an Arsenal fan say this, but Anthony Taylor got it right. And it was a penalty, the third goal. I thought it looked like Saka was going to take it, but instead he gave it to Odegaard. And good penalty. Flappy Hansky couldn't get there in time. And we'll get to. There was one occasion where Flappy Hansky did not flap his hands. We'll get to that in a minute. Odegaard, great penalty. Sam 3-0. it looked like it was going to be game over, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did. But there was also, I don't know if either of you saw it, there was also another opportunity that we probably should have had another penalty when Trossard got rugby tackled to the ground. Did anyone see that?
I don't remember that. So
I didn't remember until someone mentioned to me earlier, and I managed to find it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see it in real time, nor did Anthony Taylor.
Yeah, I saw it in real time, and yeah, we should have had another penalty. It's not very often that you can say that you can have 3 definite penalties in a match, but that was another one. But whatever, we got 2. We'll take that. But yeah,
save the third for another day.
Yeah, it shows just how dominant we were, saying that we should have had 3 penalties. Like, that's nuts. That shouldn't happen in one game of football.
Well,
not between 2 Premier League teams.
Nah, absolutely not.
3 penalties happened. You said 3 penalties doesn't happen in football. It happened in the Bournemouth game on Saturday. Justin Kluivert got a hat-trick of penalties.
First ever hat trick of penalties in Premier League.
Yeah,
which shows how rare it is.
Yeah. But it was 3-0 at half time, and wouldn't you just know, we weren't done there. It's worth noting, I know we got to give out the team full credit, obviously, but it's worth noting West Ham defensively were like absolutely shocking in the first half. You know, Odegaard, like we mentioned for the second goal, cut through their defence, hot knife through butter, and the kind of same applied to the fourth goal. It was too easy. Kai Havertz was through 1-on-1, and you know what I'm like when I see Kai Havertz go through 1-on-1 with the keeper. I feel a sense of, oh dear, please Kai, please. And he did. He scored it. And all is right again in the world. 1-on-1, shocking defending from West Ham again. Dom, I'll come to you first. It was a great goal from Kai Havertz and 4-0. What do you make of it? It was pretty shocking defending, wasn't it?
Yeah, Max Kilman gets caught under the ball. I mean, it's a nice ball, to be fair. And credit to Kai Havertz. It's an area game that he needs to improve, and I think he has improved. I think we saw that sort of in 2024. But he's got all the time in the world, and I think when you're a striker running through, it's probably actually quite a hard chance to score, even though it should be easy because you've got so long to think about it.
Yeah.
But I really loved that finish. It was calm, it was collected, and that would have done him the world of good. And interesting to see him starting to score goals again. Now he's back in the true number 9 rather than, I keep mentioning that weird hybrid that he was playing. I don't like that hybrid role he's playing. So I think that was an important goal for him. Yeah. And also, crucially, not at the Emirates, of course, where he scores a lot of his goals. So, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I still genuinely think he's going to get 20 plus goals this season, which I know a lot of people laughed at me when I said that in August, but I think he's well on the way to that. But a good goal for him, really good goal.
What do you think, Sam? Good goal from Havertz.
Yeah, I think like's been mentioned, I think he really needed it as well because he's gone those sort of. It's kind of unlike him to not score in a few games now. So, I think he really needed that to kind of pick his form back up again. Not that he's been bad, just that he hasn't been scoring. So, he needed that to kind of bring his confidence back up a little bit.
Yeah, and also, and I keep saying this, he's not a proper striker. Like I've said, he's not a proper number 9, as I've been saying.
He's a false 9. I always compare him to Firmino at Liverpool.
Well, I think and Mr. Meadows was a little bit tetchy when I said this, but I think Firmino's the better player. I'd rather have Bobby Firmino up front than Kai Havertz, in my opinion. But
Firmino showed he could do it over a long period of time. We'll see what Kai Havertz does, right? But I think he's that type of striker rather than a Haaland striker. And for me, a striker is a Haaland rather than a Firmino, just from a personal preference point of view. That's not to criticise Kai Havertz, but Haaland is a striker Firmino wasn't a striker to me. And I get that narrative, but I think Havertz his role in the team is actually really quite important at the moment. He knits it together in that way that Bobby Firmino does.
It's worth noting from AFC always, we've got to give Trossard a lot of credit as well. The pass was unbelievable. Yeah, he found Havertz perfectly, and again, like a hot knife through butter, as I said, opened up that West Ham defence. And well, here was us thinking, well, first half over and done with, game, set and match, really. And then like an RKO from out of nowhere. Oh, actually, a comment from Gooner Gathering first. Kai equals his Chelsea tally in half the time. Yes, he's got the same number of goals as he did for Chelsea. So fair play to Havertz on that. As I was saying, West Ham, out of nowhere, scored. I can't remember who did the pass to Wan-Bissaka, but it was a brilliant pass from that player. And he found Wan-Bissaka and, back of the net, all of a sudden, we've got no clean sheet. It's 4-1. We should have woken up a bit there, Sam, don't you think?
Yeah, I actually stood up at this point and thought, you know what? Like, the half's done now. I'll come back second half. So I stood up, went to go on with my business, got to the end of the room, and I thought, Wan-Bissaka scored. And I was going, what?
I was watching the game with my dad, and he left at 3-0. So yeah,
I was getting up, ready to do whatever I was going to do. I was maybe going to come back to it second half, or I was maybe not. Like, and I turned around and I thought, what? Like, I want to do oh my God, it's terrible, but it really wasn't. It was just one of those. It wasn't even that we switched off, really. It was just good football. We thought we were on easy street, and we soon found out we weren't.
I think Carlos Sola that got the assist there. It was a good pass from him, to be fair, and he found Wan-Bissaka easily. And his Calafiori was at fault. West Ham's
I think our
defence overall got caught napping with that.
Mm-hmm. I think the whole team got caught napping, to be fair.
Yeah,
I think that was the worrying part of it. Right, was that we switched off. I think that's, and you could see Mikel Arteta was furious at half time about it. I think AFC always is half right about. I mean, you have to give credit to the pass; it was a good pass. I think, but AFC is half right over Calafiori. I think he thought Gabriel was going to cut it out, and then I think Gabriel thought Calafiori was going to deal with it, and neither of them dealt with it. I think it was a bit of a miscommunication there. I also think Calafiori has just not quite worked out the position yet. That doesn't surprise me when you listen to players like Partey said it, Rice has said it, Gabriel said it, Timber said it, like Ben White said it. Lots of defenders have said how difficult it is to come in and understand the defensive system Arteta wants to play, but because of the complexity of it. And so I'm not worried by Calafiori. He's also quite a raw player when he came in. He's got all the talent in the world, but he's raw. So I'm not concerned by it, but I think that was the issue that the pass was good, but it was a mix-up between the two rather than just all on Calafiori for me. But hey, Wan-Bissaka's got 2 and 2.
It's funny how you mentioned the word raw on Monday night. There you go. That's the wrestling reference there, ladies and gentlemen.
But it's also the way I look at it as well. It's also very easy to blame two players, but the ball has to get through to the defenders before that happens. Yeah. So that means the rest of the team was also switched off. So I think it's very easy to say, oh, well, it was Calafiori, it was a defender. The rest of the team has to just allow for the West Ham players to just go through the whole of our team, which they did. So it's the team.
I coach at a much lower level than Arteta, but it's what I always say when the defenders or goalkeeper gets really upset when a goal goes in, like, guys, to get to you, it's got to go through everybody else.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but I don't suppose you get your light bulbs out and a dog called Win or anything. So I think you're probably a much more adaptable coach. I
don't know. I think given the fact that he comes up with whatever you think of him, I think you have to admit he's more adaptable than I am if he's coming up with those crazy ideas. I basically go, there you go, boys. This is where you're playing. Try not to mess it up.
As Mike Bassett would say, 4-4-2. There you go.
Well, I coach 9 and 10-year-olds, so I tend not to use that language.
The Saskia Guna, good to see you. Yeah, Arsenal United. Twice, of course, as we mentioned in the FA Cup. Meanwhile, Ebbsfleet City gets Salford. So yeah. We'll get to the free kick in a minute. Let me just get to the chat. We are owning teams. And the Outer saying Arteta could never win in Portugal. Well, he did on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I can't remember.
Tuesday.
But yeah.
I'd had a couple of
5-1.
Ribenas in London town, which is why I know it was Tuesday.
5-2 at the second home. Cleared it out again. He's having some fun in the chat. Saskia Guna.
Well, he's
anyway.
not. He's watching Roma at Atlanta.
Well, anyway. So we'll get to the... suddenly, West Ham got a free kick on the edge of the box. Bit of debate on whether it was a free kick or not. Some would argue Declan Rice got the ball. It was a clean tackle. But nevertheless, and I can see the argument to be fair, but nevertheless, West Ham had a free kick, and wow, that was possibly one of the best free kicks I've seen in a long, long time from Emerson. I first thought it was Paqueta who scored it, but it was Emerson that scored. And I mean, look, as Andy Gray would say, take a boson. That free kick was absolutely stunning.
Go on, do that again. Go on.
I'm going to offend the Glaswegians, aren't
I? I thought it was good. Right. I thought it was good.
Take a boson. Anyway, but yeah, absolutely. And I had flashbacks to St James's Park in 2011. The ghost of Cheek Tiote was going to haunt us, and but that you will admit, Sam, was an incredible free kick, and yeah, the game was suddenly changing, eh?
It was, but it also shouldn't have been a free kick in the first place. But we won't go there. Declan Rice got. If you watch back, I was a bit annoyed. Yes, it's an unbelievable goal, and you can't take that away from it. Like it's unbelievable. But Declan Rice did get the ball, and it shouldn't have been a free kick in the first place. But it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good goal. You can't take that away from him. You just got to stand there and go, yeah, no keeper's going to stop that. We move on. But yeah, I was getting slightly worried when the commentators also mentioned the Newcastle game. And in my head, I was just getting all these pictures. I started to shake. I started to feel really sweaty. I started to go, oh no, not again. Surely not again.
When it happened, did it all come back to you? Sebastian Squillaci, Joanne Giroux?
No.
Wow.
No, honestly, I was messing around earlier with the 5-2 prediction. Honestly, no, I was not at all concerned at 4-2. I was like, Arsenal have another gear. West Ham have got a quality goal, no question. But I just didn't ever think they had it in them to score 4. And I was like, Arsenal got another gear, and I think they showed it fairly, very quickly afterwards. I agree with you, Sam. It's not a free kick. I'm not a big one to whinge and moan. I'm not, but I think the issue here for me with consistency on this one is you've got Anthony Taylor, who, by the way, and we'll come on to it, I think is spot on with not many referees were given the fifth penalty, second penalty, but the fifth goal. But I think he gives this one, I assume, because of dangerous play by Declan Rice in his book, but the follow through he deems as dangerous. Fine. Okay, that's what you've given. There is one then later, which is very, very similar, and he waves that one on. Now, you're talking about the same referee in the same game. I have no issue if Anthony Taylor in this game gives that against Declan Rice, and in another game gives no free kick because he deems the challenge not to be dangerous. But I think in the same game, I'm like, I couldn't see the difference between the two, and I think that's where my issue comes in on the consistency. Different referee, different game, yeah, fine, because it is subjective what is dangerous and what isn't. There's no hard and fast rule, but yeah, for me it wasn't a free kick. I thought it was a really good challenge, and if you give one, you have to give the other. But it's a quality free kick, and ultimately it doesn't matter.
Is that still a rule that if you get the ball, it's not a free kick?
Yeah, I think it can be deemed as dangerous play. I could be wrong. I'm not a referee, but I think if for instance, if you come over the top of the ball in and you catch the ball and then your studs go right into someone, shin high, and your studs are up, I think you can have we've seen free kicks, I think, given the season. I think it might have been Timber. He got a yellow card, I think, because he wins the ball, but he's high, because the follow through goes in, and he got a yellow card rather than otherwise it would have been a red card earlier this season for that exact thing. But I'm not a referee. I could be wrong, but
Well, you'd be surprised to know I was a little bit stressed and cross that we looked like we were gonna, not throw away because we were still winning, but we were 4-0 up, and then it's 4-2. I was going, for God's sake, I thought we were better than this. But
I'm not sure there's much we could have done about the second one.
No,
really, honestly. It's a good tackle from my mind, and then it's a quality free kick from them. Like, as they say in cricket, it's good play all round.
Yeah, it's just a good job that it was in the end meaningless. Imagine if we were 2-0 up and they'd scored that one and then got the free kick to make it 2-2 and finished like that. It would be a very different story. But we're just lucky that it was just a goal, and it didn't. It didn't mean much in the grand scheme of things.
So it would, believe it or not, this was still on the first half. It wasn't the last goal to be scored in the first half. Just before half time, we get another penalty. For those of you who maybe for our younger audience, Fabianski used to play for us, and we used to call him Lucas Flappy Hansky for when he was in goal for us. He did not flap his hands this time when the penalty was given.
It was a haymaker.
Oh my God, it was like watching UFC on Gabriel. The Big Show, KO punch. It was a clear penalty, knocked him right in the kisser, and definitely no complaints there. But then it wasn't Odegaard to take it. It was Saka. In fairness to Fabianski, he almost got a hand to it. But
should have saved it, I think.
In typical Fabianski fashion, he didn't, and it was 5-2. Yes, that was it. A Roman Reigns Superman punch. That's what it was, AFC always.
I do think he should have saved it. I don't know about you two. I'm pretty sure he should have saved it. It wasn't a great penalty.
I thought that on the first look, and then when you saw the replays, the more you watch it, the more you think he should save that.
Mm-hmm. I also think, again, I don't know about you two. I also think he's fairly fortunate to be on the pitch.
Saka?
No, Fabianski.
Oh, Fabianski. Yeah, I was going to say. He was brilliant. What are you on about?
Yeah,
Fabianski,
I still think he's
fairly
fortunate. Like, maybe not the referee, because he's not really seen it. But when you go and look at VAR, you're thinking, surely they've got to send him off. It's at a point where, do you know what? We're very lucky that our defender wasn't hurt, but it could have been a completely different story, couldn't it? Like, it could have broke his nose, to be honest. Like, we could have been in a situation that's not very good. So yeah, I don't know about you two. I guess I'll kind of ask you both that question. I think potentially we could have maybe seen that.
Do you want to go first, Bertie?
I've got nothing to say, really. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I think first credit to Anthony Taylor for giving that, because we see them not given when generally a striker, but a player has had an effort at goal and then a foul happens afterwards in the penalty area and no penalty was given because the team has had a shot. So I think credit to Anthony Taylor for pulling it back and going, no, you might have had a shot, but that's it's a foul. It's in the box when giving the penalty. I think if a defender does that, it's obviously a red card. I think it's slightly different with the goalkeeper because the ball is there. He has clearly gone for the ball. And the ball is not a million miles away from where he punches Gabriel. Gabriel beats him to the ball and then he punches him. Well, goalkeepers can use their hands, and therefore, because they can use their hands, he's going to punch. So I think yellow card and a penalty was the right outcome there for me. So I'm not going to sort of jump on him for that. And plus, also, I'd much rather face Fabianski than most Premier League goalkeepers.
Yeah, to be fair, I was saying when we beat West Ham 6-0 and Areola was in goal, I was saying he actually made some good saves in that game. It could have been a lot more. He's a much better keeper than old Flappy Hansky, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
I find it really mental.
To be fair to Flappy Hansky, when you were second choice to Almunia, then that says it all.
God, I forgot about that. I think we're all trying to forget about that time.
I just mentioned Almunia, Squillaci, and Juru in the same video. We're going to party like it's 2011.
Yeah, and Bertie, you wonder why I wasn't concerned about Newcastle happening again when it was that to Reyes, Lieber, Gabriel.
Even
Absolutely.
the mention of those names again brings back lots of pictures that aren't great. I remember, we just any single shot that was taken at that point, you would know that it was going in.
Yeah, it was 5-2 at half time. It stayed like that, and as Lee Meadows would always say, never in doubt. I don't know if you sort of heard that, but
yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was what he sent. That was what he sent me when Reece Nelson scored the winner against Bournemouth. That was the message. But yeah,
I'm not sure I was quite as calm and confident about that day as I was on Saturday.
AFC always says we went 4-0. West Ham fans might as well left and go shopping in Westfield. Absolutely. I think Early Doors made a similar comment about that, referencing the game last season. But yeah, so let me read out the highlights from the second half. That's it. And it ended 5-2 at full time. I will say, though, it's worth noting, Kivior came on for Gabriel in the second half, which I thought was the right decision because, if you saw what happened, hopefully Gabriel is all right for Man United. Hopefully it was just like a concussion protocol, the substitute.
Hopefully it wasn't, because otherwise he's out of the United game.
Yeah.
And we didn't fill in the paperwork for concussion protocol either, so I'm hoping it was Arsenal felt the game was done and therefore he was off.
Yeah, we'll have to. I've not heard anything from that so far, but the press conference hasn't happened yet, so I don't really know.
Well, he's not going to say anything anyway.
He's not going to say anything, so yeah.
I actually thought the second half, though, really quickly. I actually thought the second half was really quite good from an Arsenal perspective. I thought Kivior did well, by the way. Apart from the tug at Jared Bowen, which I thought was a bit unnecessary. We didn't notice him, and that's what you want from your centre half, right? You don't want to notice your centre half. But I thought Arsenal played in a very different way and played with real control. And I was watching with my son and my daughter, and I said to them, "Is this all?" And they were like, "How come they haven't scored in the second half? Because they're only little." And I said, "This is about Arsenal controlling the game and conserving energy. They've won the game. They know they've won the game, and they've got some big games coming up." And I thought that was, the really, really smart call and a really professional second half from Arsenal. Dull as it was, dull was fine. Game was won.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I didn't expect. I didn't want to expect much. I wanted the scoreline to stay the same, if not better. And
you take the goals, right? But
absolutely. But I was happy with it, really. It was a professional second half performance. Substitutes being made. Wanyeri came on as well. Jesus came on and did nothing.
Zinchenko looked okay.
Sterling came on. He took a free kick, which was close. But that was mainly it from Sterling.
The free kick was fine. It was the one that upset me about Sterling, and I say upset sort of relatively loosely, was that shot into the side net, and we were comparing it to Saka earlier, like just fizz that ball back across. But I mean, Sterling just needs a goal.
If that was Saka, it would have gone in.
Probably, but I mean, Sterling just needs a goal. Like that's what Sterling needs.
I do think that is what sets him apart, though, from other players, in that he's very minded when he plays football. He's very minded in himself. He always seems to take the shot on when he should pass it across, and I think that's been the criticism.
He's a lot more. Might be a harsh. No, is it a harsh word to you? He's a lot more selfish than some other wingers.
Yeah, I think
he always has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we've even seen that to a point when he's played for England and stuff, and we've watched it. we've been screaming. I know I've been screaming when he's played for England on the TV, going like, just pass it. So I do think that can sometimes set you apart from other players. Is that person that looks up and sees the easier option rather than just taking that shot. You're not going to get into Arsenal's team in the like that, if that makes sense, because we are so together as a team, and you can see that on the pitch. If you're out there playing for yourself and not for the team, unfortunately, you're not going to get very far.
I think Raheem Sterling is a stopgap player, right? I mean, he's come in because we couldn't get the targets we wanted in the summer. I mean, I'm absolutely fine with Raheem Sterling. He's a very cheap deal. He's an option player. You know, he's still got enough quality about him to be that player, but he's not the long-term answer. But I don't think Arsenal see him as that either, which is, if I thought Raheem Sterling was going to be made permanent, I'd have much more of an issue with it than I do as a loan player. And I think he will. I think I wouldn't be shocked to see him come in with 10 goals and assists in all competitions this season. And if that's what he comes in and delivers, I'm not going to be upset by that. I think Sam is right, by the way, about Sterling's character. I think that's always been there. And it continues to be there.
Your comment about Saka. Let's
I think it was a question about his assists.
Yes. Okay, here it is. Saka, first player to get 10 assists this season. Do you think Saka could equal Thierry Henry 20 assists for a season?
I can't see why not. Like
10 assists so far in December.
If we've got,
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. If he puts in performances like he did on Saturday, I don't see why not. What do you think, Dom?
If he stays fit, I don't see why not. I mean, you can probably bang in another 3 at least from corners before we even start. That leaves him needing 7.
Yeah.
And I'm not criticising, by the way. I've heard some people say ridiculously, it's like, well, Salah is clearly miles ahead and it doesn't really count because he takes corners. I'm sorry, you still have to put the ball in the right area for you know. It's not just fluke. Like, there's a lot that goes behind it. Yova has done a fantastic job, and Arsenal players are doing a fantastic job getting particularly Gabriel free. But Saka still has to deliver the ball into that dangerous area for someone to put it in. An assist is an assist. It's not like it's accidentally hit him and gone to the player and then he gets the assist, right? I mean, you know, corners are legitimate assists.
Yeah. I'm also not having that Salah's miles better than Saka because I keep hearing that and I'm like, it's really wrong. Like
in terms of career, Salah is the better player.
But right now, Salah's had the better career, but he's also had a 10-year career longer, near enough.
Yeah, it's a fair argument. But you know, he's still a young player. Salah's in his 30s, so you know, Saka's got time. Who knows what he's going to happen to him in the next.
Right now, I can see the argument for Salah being better than Saka this season. Right, I think it's really close. I don't think there's much difference. However, if I was signing one over the other, well, it's Saka all day long. He's 23 or whatever he is, and Salah's 32. Like, you know, there's no question for me that I'm signing Bukayo Saka. Of the two, but I don't think there's much difference between the two right now in terms of their ability today.
I also think, having spoke about it, it's really harsh to even put that comparison to either player, to be honest, because you're talking about two of the best wingers in world football.
Agree.
So
entirely.
So it's horrendously bad, I think, to even compare the two, because as we've just mentioned, it's worlds apart. Salah's coming towards the end of his career and Saka's just starting it. So to compare them two players is just daft anyway.
It was like the Ronaldo Messi. It's like, who cares? They're both fantastic players.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying they're Ronaldo and Messi, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, is there anything else that I need to mention? Actually, AFC always says when Salah leaves Liverpool, Saka will be his ideal replacement for them. Oh well,
it's not going to happen.
He's not going to leave, but like I'm confident that he's not going to want to leave. Somebody doesn't come through the academy and do as well as he's done, and then just up ship and want to leave. Like, I'm pretty confident in that.
I'm confident that right now.
Yeah.
If we don't win anything next 2-3 years, I can see it changing. But I think that's a move to someone like a
Yeah,
Real Madrid
that's
rather
what I
than
mean.
Liverpool. And I'm not
Because-
disrespecting Liverpool. I don't see him going to another English club.
No.
Could be
Yeah,
wrong.
see,
I might be looked foolish in a couple of years, but
this is what I say. I don't think Saka will leave, but I will say if we don't win anything, as soon as this season, then players like Saliba will look at themselves and go, "Do I really want to be at a club that's not winning anything?" And I can go to Real Madrid or a club like that, or I don't know.
I had
Go on.
that thought. I had that thought, to be honest, because obviously we've seen teams sniffing around him last couple of seasons, and there's a certain point where, and I wouldn't blame him at all. There's a certain point when it's your own football career that you say, you look at the big picture and you go, my career is very limited as a footballer. At some stage, I want to be winning things. A player like that's potentially one of the best centre-backs in world football right now, is going to want to win things. So it's one of those, isn't it? Again, I hope that that's not the case. And I think it's going to take a lot to shift him as well. It's not like the club's going to go, oh, you can have him. They're going to be saying, well, you're not getting a sniff if you don't look under 100 million. Like that's how important he is. So it's one of those, isn't it? It's not something to worry about imminently, I don't think.
I agree. Look, I don't see Rice, Saka, Odegaard, even Gabriel, unless he really goes for the money. But you're talking huge Saudi Arabia money. I don't think that's. I think Saliba is a slightly different one there, where actually I think we could win the Premier League and Champions League this year. And I'm not saying we're going to win it. I'm just using this as an example. And I don't think the trophies change the dial for him. I think at some point in the next 5 years, Saliba is going to go to Real Madrid because I just think he wants to go to Real Madrid at some point. Real Madrid are the biggest club in the world. He doesn't have the connections to the English league like a Saka or a Rice does. And, why should he? I'm not criticising for that. And I just think for him, Real Madrid is probably like the dream move. And I think he will want to do it at some point. And you can't blame him. Like, London's a nice city to live in, but Madrid's a heck of a lot warmer. And he's probably going to get paid more there as well. And that's not to criticise Arsenal either. It's just, he just will. Like, Real Madrid are the richest and biggest club in the world and probably always will be. So you can understand that. And I don't think trophies will stop that happening at some point. But to Sam's point, what is important is we tie him down to a new deal as soon as possible and make sure we protect that value, because he goes 2 years this summer, by the way. And that's more my concern with Saliba.
Well, Guna Gathering says Saliba contracted until 20. It doesn't matter. If a club puts in a bid for him and Saliba wants to leave, then the contract doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It matters from the point of view of the value, and Arsenal in theory could say no. But my view is if a player wants to go, you don't stop them, because it's not going to end well for you.
Yeah, I guess. But that result against West Ham, I believe, puts us in second place in the league.
Do you know why we're second, by the way?
Yeah.
Do you know the exact reasoning behind it?
Yes, because we begin with A.
No, it's not. That's not correct. It's away goals. We have more away direct goals against Chelsea in the head-to-head because we got one at Stamford Bridge, and of course they haven't been to the Emirates, so they've got none. That's what we're ahead on. It's not Alfred Gordo. It's away goals. We had an away goal, and they don't in the head-to-head.
Yeah, so we are level on points with Chelsea, who are in third, and of course Liverpool, after beating Ebbsfleet City on Sunday, are 9 points clear of us. So yeah, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to rely on Liverpool to drop points if we're going to have any chance of winning the league. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, in my opinion. It's a long way to go, but in my view,
this is a big week for them. Big week. Started with City, who are a mess right now. Newcastle away. That's difficult. If they come through that with 3 points, and then they get, I know this sounds daft, but they come through the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park with 3 points. Now Everton are also an absolute mess, but it is a Merseyside derby. If they come through that with 6 points, that starts to look more formidable. I am not in a position, though, even if they do come through with 6 points, where I think this league is done. I think at some point, Liverpool are doing really well, but I think they are still running hot. It's looking more and more formidable as they get these results, but I just don't think they do not look like a 100-point team to me. And I do wonder how, unless they get two of these guys out of the three that are out of the contract, because I think Trent Alexander is gone. I really do. Tied down to new deals. I wonder how much as that goes through the season, that might start to weigh on them. How much the pressure might start to weigh on them. And all of these factors will start to come into play potentially. And I think that gap will close. I'm very, very confident on that. How soon it will close, I don't know. But at some point, Liverpool will have a blip. And at that point, Arsenal have to take advantage and they have to keep the pressure up on Liverpool. We have to do our job and you have to hope they don't do theirs. But I'm sure at some point they're not going to.
Yeah. That's an FPL team name if I've ever seen one.
I just saw that and started to giggle.
Needing to look a slot like Christmas. Thank you, AFC always. Lee Meadows level jokes. Blind me. Declan, good to see you in the chat.
We shouldn't do AFC always down like that.
No, absolutely. Declan says, let's talk about the upcoming United match. Which one? Look, that's coming up on Wednesday. I actually won't be able to watch it because I'll be working at an event for a certain charity. I volunteered at the very same event in 2021 when Arsenal played Man United and we lost. That was when Michael Carrick was caretaker manager at United. So hopefully that's not an omen. But yeah, I won't be able to be there for the... I might have to just check my phone every now and then.
You mean every 30 seconds?
Yeah. Gabriel did the Gorka celebration. Yes, he did 2 games in a row. AFC always says, for Arsenal to win the league, we've got to win all our games, and that's not going to happen.
I don't think
we've I think our third to last game is at Anfield.
Yeah, they go Chelsea and Arsenal back to back in that order.
Yeah, and depends. Who knows where the league's going to be at that time? So I don't know, but I personally think right now, I think the league is not for the taking for us, and I think we should probably focus on the domestic cups and starting, of course, Carabao Cup against Palace in December and facing Man United in the FA Cup, which we have to win because we've not gone past the 4th round of the FA Cup since we've won that competition.
Is that right? We really not?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do think it changes a little bit. Here's where's my little curveball. I do think it changes slightly. Not saying that it does massively, but if we were to sign a striker in January, that for me gives me a little bit more hope and excitement that something can happen.
I can't see us signing anyone in January. I can't.
Yeah, that's the only way I will have any excitement for the rest of this season. I know there's a long way to go, but I just don't. We're not even at the levels that we were last year, I don't think. So yeah, it's just I know 9 points is not a lot when you know how much of the season's left, but it's an awful lot in terms of they've got to drop 3 games and we've got to make sure we've basically got to win pretty much every game now and hope that other teams drop points.
I really strongly don't agree with that point. I can understand it, but I don't agree. Right? If you look at how many games are left, there are 75 points. Arsenal win. If you say Arsenal have to win all their points, that's 100 points. Arsenal don't need 100 points to win the league. I think 85 points genuinely wins you the league this year. I really, really do. I think the league is a lot tighter this year. If you look at the summer transfer window, very few of the top teams across Europe did sign superstar players. Very few moved this year, which means you're then looking at the next tier down. And that means you've seen, in theory, Manchester United improve, but you saw Chelsea improve. You saw Villa, in theory, make signings. Brighton, obviously the big ones, right? So I think the league has tightened because I think the league has got better, where the top 3 have stood still or marginally improved, and that's brought things tighter. So I don't think you need 100 points. I think you need 85. I think 85, 86 points wins you the league, which means there are 15 points left to drop. As I said earlier, I think Liverpool will drop points at some stage. I really, really do. And in terms of bringing someone in, I agree. I don't see a striker coming in. I don't see that happening. I don't know what the PSR situation is. We obviously got the 2 late deals. Does that change it and give you money that you didn't have in the summer, in January? I don't know. I really don't. But I think with no director of football in place, Arsenal are not going to change their model of we're only buying the player we want rather than just a player. And I think that's sensible, by the way. But I don't see that. But I don't think that's going to happen in January. I really don't, unless it's a loan. You know, like Evan Ferguson has been linked as a loan. Like if he came in as a striker on loan, I could see something like that happening. I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that's what it'd be. But if we sign anyone in January, I think it'll be a central midfielder.
I do think that brings up a little bit of a bigger picture, though, because it's kind of a little bit what I've been saying. We've kind of unfortunately lost a little bit of the curve in that over the last 2 seasons we've had us, Man City, and a couple of other teams kind of pushing us. We've now missed that boat, and we're now in a league that is massively better. So we just haven't got Liverpool, Man City, and us anymore. Everybody else is not catching up as imminently, but slowly catching up. So I think our task is now a lot harder to win a league than it was over the last 2 seasons.
I mean, again, I don't fully agree. I think the league has got better, but I don't think any of them are overtaking. And I think in some ways, I think that kind of helps because it means you don't have to be near perfect like City have been. And I think the other thing I would mention is that there's a lot being made about how we're much worse than last season. And as we stand at this exact point on 2nd of December 2024 compared to 2nd of December 2023, you're right. You're objectively right. However, December was a nightmare for us last year. So I think if we don't drop more than 5 points in December, we're in the same or better position than we were in December on New Year's Eve 2023. We weren't great this time last year either. Let's be clear about that.
1 win in 7, I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And I also look at it and go, what's the difference between this year and last year? And look, you have to deal with that. But injuries is one, but you have to deal with that. But actually, I think the more crucial factor is we've been to Villa Park, we've been to Stamford Bridge, we've been to White Hart Lane, we've been to St James's Park, we've been to the Etihad. I think these things are quite important because that means they come to us. The more difficult games come to us in the second half. Now, we still have to win them, but I think it's really important when you are making those comparisons to sort of view what you're comparing. And that's what still gives me hope. Now, that might be false hope, and I might look a complete tit in May. It has been known. But that's really what gives me some faith. Don't get me wrong, a new forward coming in of some kind in January gives me more faith. But that's why I am still very much half glass full rather than half glass empty at this point.
Well, look,
I think I think it really helped me and Posh as pessimistic fans to have someone that actually challenges a little bit and gives us a little bit of hope. Because I think we've watched so much and we've got kind of a negative outlook on the way that things are going sometimes. So it actually is really nice to hear more positive voices sometimes, because it's certainly not very positive in my head a lot. Same with Posh, I would imagine. So
well, Sam, I appreciate that massively. Look, I mean, I could be wrong, right? I'm like, oh God, we're playing Atkins and Stanley away today. God, we could lose this 1-0. It's a banana skin. but what I do tend to do is try and look at trends. And I think when you look at the trend, it's quite a positive one still in my mind. But I might look a complete tit. I've also got to double down on the fact that I said 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 2024, 25 was the year we win the league. No, so I've got to keep hoping. Come on.
Yes, well, look, as Gooner Gathering says, I believe Dom is on Josh's channel at 8:30 p.m. So that's very soon. Go and subscribe to Josh as well. I think we're done here. Thank you very much, guys, for being part of this video. And as Gooner Gathering says, it brings a nice balance to the channel, having a fan who thinks it's all over, and a fan who says it isn't now.
Hey, that is
yeah,
superb. I knew where you were going, but you did it. Well done.
AFC always says this is what happens when you don't have a proper summer transfer.
Don't round me and posh up. You don't want that.
I know.
Again.
We wax lyrical on that time and time again, AFC always. But thank you for the comment. Right then. So yeah, actually, Sam, where can they find you? On social media, that is, not in real life.
Well, they can do if they want. I'm not hard to track down.
Weird that.
On my Instagram is probably where you can find me most, Sam Wilson AFC. You can also find me on another channel, which I'm pretty sure you know about as of now.
Yeah.
In Wrestle Dogs. I actually put Gooner Gathering's banner up by accident yesterday. So you've got a shout out without.
There you go. Extra advertisement there.
Yeah.
Dom, where can they find you?
They can find me. I actually have a new Twitter as well, which is, I think, AFC Domination, but I'll have to get it over to you for your banner. But we'll put it up in a minute. That's where I am on Twitter. But you can find me at Arsenal Domination. Basically, what you can see on the screen at YouTube. I have surpassed all expectations by having more than one subscriber since I launched just under 2 weeks ago. But yeah, there's a few videos on there. Hopefully people will find them interesting and enjoyable. They are, generally speaking, one take, but as Bertie would have seen earlier, maybe Sam as well, I had to do it in two today because I realised I'd not got an appropriate background and my wife would have gone mental. So I, after 10 seconds, did another take, but they're all one take, no notes. It's just my thoughts on things, so it can be a bit of a bit of an odd one sometimes, but I think they're relatively coherent.
Unfortunately, Russ Morgan and Hawkwind, you are both late, I'm afraid. We are about to end the stream, I'm afraid. But
yeah, but I was late too.
You can both join Dom on True Gooner's channel via the link right here. So the evening of live streams is not over yet. So yeah. You can find me on X at Posh Bertie, and my Instagram is at Bertie Wanless, and I run Gooner Gathering's Instagram account, which is at Gooner Gathering. And make sure you subscribe to this very channel, because right here at Gooner Gathering, we watch Arsenal so you don't have to. Until next time, guys, take care, and I'll see you very soon.